Peter, welcome and thank you for joining us ahead of your ride to Seville. Can you tell us a wee bit about yourself, a wee bit about your Celtic history? Who got you into supporting the club and how long that's been going on for?
Yeah, well, it's been going on for as long as I can remember, Paul. My father, obviously, growing up as a boy in Falkirk. My dad's been supporting Celtic for 80 years and still doing that. So my earliest memories would be the late 70s, the crying when I was a paper boy when Kenny Dalglish went to Liverpool. Also when the team came out all wearing the number 8. I was at that game for eight in a row. That was a very early memory.
Yep.
And obviously growing up on stories about the 7-1 League Cup final and all the rest of it. Nearly Mochan's son was in my class at school.
Right.
And the senior, the player, he was in my mum's class at the school.
Right.
So, yeah, I mean, we were the only Catholic family in Glen Village in Falkirk, really, the only one. Right? But that was never really a problem. And living in Parkhead Road, the ironies are incredible, but just Celtic through and through, like most of us. So,
right, great stuff. And tell us a wee bit about your cycling then. How long have you been a cyclist and how did you get into that?
I only started cycling. I've been living in Mallorca now 27 years.
Goodness.
So I've done many things. But for the last 17, I've been teaching golf. So I'm a golf pro. So I play golf and I teach golf for a living, which on Paradise Island, which is great. And Mallorca's famous for cycling as well. But I didn't cycle, Paul. But I was always going to Lisbon for the 50th anniversary. And I was going to take my son and my dad. And then I seen this crazy plan to cycle to Lisbon for charity, for the foundation. And I had been doing some things for the foundation to raise some money anyway. And I thought, I've got 8 months. I could get a bike, do some training. And so I did. So I took up cycling specifically to go to Lisbon.
Goodness.
And it was incredible. What an experience.
And did you do the whole thing from Celtic Park?
Yeah. Left Celtic Park. Did the whole lot, 1,800 kilometres in 2 weeks. Goodness. And it was just unbelievable. I mean, and I blogged it. Ended up with quite a lot of followers actually blogging it. But I forgot who I was. I remember blogging maybe day 11 or 12 or what it was, that I wasn't a golf pro anymore. I was just a cyclist. I was either preparing to cycle, cycling, or recovering from a cycle. It was just nuts. Yeah. But I just got right into it and cycled every day, every kilometre. It was magic.
To be honest with you, that sounds impossible to go at our age, to go from not being a cyclist to cycling that number of kilometres in the space of 8 months. I mean, I can't imagine how you thought you could achieve that, never mind you actually achieved it.
Well, I mean, it was a bit out there, but I'm in the perfect place to train. And one of the earliest blog posts was training completed. I did over 6,000 kilometres training and 60 rides. I mean, I'm just back. I was out this morning for a training ride. I did over 130. And I mean, I'm knackered, but that's how you do it. You just train, and maybe I'm a little bit lucky. I don't need to train my brain. I'm very determined. Wow. And so I was never going to fail for having any doubts. It was all about avoiding repetitive strain injuries. So I got a custom built bike. So that when my knees go up, and they just go up and down, there's no torsion, there's no torque, there's no problems. So, she's called Grace, funnily enough. My mother was like, why do you call her Grace? I says, well, Mum, I don't want to fall from her, and she's amazing. But we know why she's really called Grace. And
I believe Grace is beside us.
Absolutely. Right, you want a wee look?
Have a look.
Let's tell me if you can see her. She's got the names of the Lisbon Lions around the rim.
Ah, that's fantastic.
And she's got the lyrics of the In the Heat of Lisbon song around the rim. Proper Celtic'd up. So every nut and bolt on her's emerald green. So yeah,
fantastic.
She'll look after me.
And did Grace go on the Lisbon trip?
Oh, absolutely. That's why she was born for Lisbon. She was created for Lisbon.
Right.
And I couldn't get out the stadium. just couldn't, because all the fans that were in there. I mean, there was over 2,000 fans in that stadium for no game. The locals had no idea what was going on, and I couldn't get out for all the photographs we had to pose for. So yeah, she was there, and she'll be taking me to Seville. So yeah,
fantastic stuff. So tell me, are you coming back to Celtic Park? Are you joining the trip on the way?
Yeah, absolutely. I'll be doing the minute for it's all in. You got to do everything. That's my mentality. So, funnily enough, it's my partner's birthday the day before. So she'll be coming to the little dinner on her birthday in Glasgow the night before we leave. Obviously, I'm gutted that I'll be missing the coronation because we leave on the 6th, Saturday the 6th. But I will be. My youngest grandson's 1 on the 9th of May, so I'm going to miss that. But yeah, I'll be back in Glasgow on the 3rd or 4th. Yeah, 3rd of May. But I will come straight back to Mallorca from Seville on the Monday. We'll stay in Seville for the weekend and then come back. So yeah, the whole lot. And I'm really looking forward to the trip through Ireland.
Right, and you'll have done parts in northern Spain before when you went to Lisbon.
I'm sorry, say that again.
I said you'll have done parts in northern Spain before when you went to Lisbon.
Yes, yeah, but we went from Santander over the Cantabrian Mountains. So this is a different route. This is Bilbao, and this is much tougher.
Right.
To let you understand, the first 2 days coming out of Bilbao, pretty hilly. I mean, we're going over 1,800 metres. Now, Ben Nevis is 1,345. So there's every chance there'll still be snow up there. So I'm currently training like a madman and trying to shed loads of weight because I'm quite a big unit, and climbing up these mountains carrying 20 kilos overweight, not a good idea. So
I'm hearing that a lot, Peter. I wouldn't worry too much about it.
No, I'm worried a lot about it. I'll be fine. I think I'm fit enough, but yeah, I've still got another 5 or 6 kilos to drop. So
right. And tell me, were you at Seville 20 years ago?
Do you know, I've been to Seville many, many times. I did have tickets to go, and I was all geared up to go. But at the time, I had a bar, and I was a bookmaker in Santa Ponsa. And of course, my wife explained to me that this is going to be the busiest night ever in the pub. And really, are you going to go and leave us? And I was like, you know what? She's right. I just couldn't. So she gave me a free pass to go anywhere if I didn't go to Seville. So I stayed. I'm very happy I did, because it was absolute nuts. Absolute nuts. I've still never seen the game because it was just so busy. The busiest day we've ever had, never will have. And so yeah, I just remember being so sad when Bobo Baldy got sent off, and we kind of knew the writing was on the wall, and that was pretty much it. But everybody was so drunk by then, they were just having a party anyway. And so a year later, and I'm sure you'll remember it well, we got Barcelona in the UEFA Cup.
Yep.
And after a very controversial game at Celtic Park, I think we beat them 3-2 or something. But
1-0.
1-0 was it?
Aye, 3-2 was 4 years later.
Right. But I just remember going to the new camp for the first time with my brother Martin, and that was David Marshall's game.
That's right.
And 0-0. But the guy that stood it for me was Didier Agat. He was man marking Ronaldinho, who I still think is the best player I've ever seen in the flesh. And Ronaldinho would just skin him and look up, and Agat would rob him. It was that fast. So, yeah, we enjoyed that night in Barcelona after knocking them out.
Yeah, so the Ronaldinho. So we saw Ronaldinho for Barcelona in a couple of different ties, but that tie, home and away, that tie was unplayable. I just can't. Nobody has ever played as well, I don't think, at Celtic Park. And I seem to remember him getting a round of applause at the end of the game for the shift he put in. Funnily enough, recording this just after Hibs have visited Celtic Park, and David Marshall was in goals for them. And it seems like impossible to believe that the guy who was on the field on Saturday was the teenager who kept clean sheet 19 years ago against Barcelona. But it was just an incredible performance, and all my Celtic supporting performance watching days. I think that performance, and then the maybe the Fraser Forster performance in the 29 League Cup final are the two exceptional goalkeeping performances I've seen, but Marshall's definitely, I think, edges it.
Yeah, no, it was just incredible. I keep watching it back. It's just brilliant. So yeah, so it didn't get to Seville then, but really looking forward to going this time.
Well, I went to Seville 20 years ago, but I'm not sure I actually saw Seville. All I saw was a lot of green and white hoops. And
yeah. And I can tell you, I mean, I've been in Spain a long time now. I speak Spanish, and I work all over the place. And I've been in Seville many, many times, and we're so well remembered, the Celtic support.
Right.
We created so many Spanish supporters with that event. I mean, I think it was. They said it was 80,000, but I believe it was more like 100, and there wasn't one arrest.
No.
Right, and getting the UEFA Fair Play Award for a bunch of fans.
Aye.
And the Spanish people remember these things. Yeah? And of course, they've got Betis there who play in the same colours.
Yep.
Yeah. So every time I'm there working, the guys are always like, "Oh, what's your team?" Yeah? When they find out I'm Scottish, and when I say Celtic, they're so relieved. So they, "Oh, I remember when they came here." So yeah, beautiful city. So you should go because it really is beautiful.
It's on the bucket list, yeah. But as I say, people talk to me about the cathedral and the big square, and I didn't see the cathedral and I didn't see the big square either. Literally, it was all that day for me was all about getting to the place to pick up the tickets, trying to get some food, and then trying to get to Stadio Olimpico, and then the long and slow trek back into town again. So I saw nothing of it. All I saw was the back of other green and white hoops.
Yeah, I must admit it's one of my biggest regrets. I wish I had been there, but no, it just when I seen the state of the pub, there's no way they could have coped. And of course, I was the bookie, so the bookie had to be there. I mean, Henrik Larsson was something like 92 or 5-1 to score the first goal. It was 3-1 in my pub because that was who all the money was for. Right? And if he had scored first, then I would have been cleaned out.
Jeez.
So that was a weird part of my life, laying bets and having a liability based on Celtic, and half of me is hoping that the other team score first, and then we beat them. So it was just nuts. But what wonderful memories, whether you were there or whether you weren't. What a team that was.
It was great, and I kind of felt early on when we went behind that night that the day was going to go with us, but being able to celebrate a goal and being able to do it again for your side in a European final, it's a rare privilege, and it's something I never ever thought prior to that day that we would ever get to see, and God knows if it'll ever happen again. But certainly it was wonderful for our generation just to have these anecdotes and stories. You've got your own story of Seville. It's different than most people's, but it's still your Seville story, and it probably has an echo in where you are now because you had a responsibility to your wife and your business and your family back then that meant you had to actually drop out and not pick up those tickets. 20 years on, you kind of need family support to do the work that you're doing and go on the 2-week trip and do all these training miles. I suppose that's an important place of where you are now.
Oh, that's 100%. I mean, the trip to Lisbon, because it was all new, I had to learn everything, right? And to spend a lot of money on equipment because I had nothing. This one seems so much easier because I don't need to buy a bike. I don't need to buy all the kit, right? Because you're cycling through Scotland in early May.
Yep.
I remember what the weather can be like.
You need a parka. So
yeah, you need all the wet and cold gear. And on the way to Lisbon, I remember once we got over the mountains and got into the flats in Spain, the heat came. Well, I was in my element. I just cycled away from them. They couldn't handle it. They were like, oh, what's going on? Stopping for water every 5 miles. And I was just bombing away because I had trained in the heat.
Yep.
So, yeah, you need a lot of equipment. Fortunately, there's some direct flights now. They've just started back again. Because it's not cheap to take a bike on an airplane. A couple of suitcases and everything else. So, yeah, really, really, really looking forward to it, and got nothing but support and good wishes from all my clients. Funny story, Lisbon. I was sitting fundraising a lot, and it was about 2 months after it. I was at a golf tournament, right? And I won't mention the guy's name because he's pretty famous, but he was at the golf tournament with me, and some of the guys I hadn't seen for a while were like, "Oh my God, that cycle you did, that was amazing. How much money did you raise?" I said, "Oh, it was about $8,000 or something like that." And this guy who had just played golf, he went, "I'll make it 10." I'm like, "I don't even think that they're still taking the money." He says, "Well, get them to take it." I said, I'll find out and I'll send you a link. So I sent the link, and on the Monday morning, I got a notification saying they had a donation of 1,947 point, a weird amount. And I thought, you know what? That's a currency transaction.
Yep.
No, I looked at my total, and it was £10,018.88. And I immediately phoned Paul Muldoon, who organised it. I says, "Get that account shut down before some Rangers fan donates a fiver, will you? Just close it." So I got a big check made with the 1888 on it. So that was cool. So people were still supporting us 2 months after we'd done it, and I think we raised about 80 grand. And then we all got out a game against Hibs. We're all in the park at half time.
Yep.
To present the check to the foundation. But they didn't care. They put the sprinklers on anyway. I'm sure you were there at that game. We all got soaked.
Yep.
So yeah, that was great. So I flew back just for that. I wasn't going to miss a chance to go in the park at half time. So no, it was just wonderful. Even in the lead up to it, we had a photo shoot. It was February, and so I'm coming back for that. So I got 2 flights back. I said to my dad, I says, "Dad, I think you should maybe come with me. I think we're getting the big cup out." So, and I've still got it as my screensaver on my computer and my mouse mat. Me and my dad holding the big cup up. Just amazing. So yeah, can't wait to get to see some of the guys again, because I think there's 10 or 12 of us doing the Seville trip that did Lisbon.
Great.
So it'll be great to see them. And of course, we really want to top the amount we did, so we're targeting 100,000. And I've been fundraising for it all last year. I was a captain of the local golf society, and I was fining people for everything, for wearing flip-flops after the golf, for having their top button done, for wearing blue, obviously, just spurious things. Just a £5 here and €2 there. So I managed to get a good kickstart to the fund from the local golfers, and they've all pledged their support. I'm not going to start sharing my link until just a little bit nearer the time, because I want them to follow the trip, etc. But I'm fortunate to have clients that don't care one way or the other about Celtic or Rangers or even football. They like me because I'm their golf teacher, and if I'm doing something for charity, they'll support it. So hopefully get another 5-figure amount. That'd be nice.
Yeah, that'd be incredible. And raising 10 grand as you did Lisbon is quite incredible. And I know from speaking to a lot of people who have gone through similar fundraising journeys as you have, you started off afresh, you learn things, you pick up things, and hopefully you'll get a similar type of amount second time around. And the bigger question is what happened to that 10 grand, what the foundation can actually do with that kind of money, or the 80 grand that the community off you raised, because that's really what you're doing it for. It's not just a case of you need to raise money. There's a need out there. There's a need that the foundation are actually stepping for, and that need only can be fulfilled if Celtic fans step forward and doing what you're doing. And I think it begets us to remember that need and remember why Celtic exists, and why that heritage that you have that went back to your father and no doubt generations before him was handed down to you. It's all about what the work of today's foundation can actually do.
Yeah, I mean, I really enjoy educating the cosmopolitan client base that I've got when they're asking why is Celtic so important to you, or they don't know the difference, and they'll actually say, which one's the Catholic team or which one's because they just don't know, and that's kind of how it should be. And I just explained to them that the club was founded to feed the hungry Irish immigrants. That's why the club was founded, because there was people starving in the East End of Glasgow, and I don't know if there's any club got a bigger or more successful charity foundation attached to the football club. But I'm really proud of what they do, and I've climbed Ben Nevis for them. I've found them sponsor for golf tournaments, raised a lot of money having golf tournaments here. I remember one time I actually flew, Donna Marie?
Aye.
Yeah. Well, actually, because Ability Counts would be the one big thing that was really caught my attention. And she was kind of looking after that. So I flew her out. I said, Donna Marie, I think you should come out to Mallorca and just accept this, because it's going to be a kind of sizable amount. And I was, at the end of the golf tournament, I was auctioning off a trip to Scotland for Trump Turnberry and Kingsbarn, like a luxury trip. And I had the okay from the sponsor. If I got $5,000 for it, I could just double dunt it and sell it twice. But to cut a long story short, presented Donna Marie with a cheque for $20,000.
Jeez.
Right, at the end of that golf tournament. And there was a wildlife charity getting half the money and the foundation getting the other half.
Jeez.
Right? And so that was well worth it. Right? So and she visits us from time to time. She comes over to Palmanova with her mum for a wee holiday and things. So yeah, I'm a big supporter. Love the foundation. Love what they do, and can't wait to get another big shed load of money for them. But the Ability Counts will be the one thing for me that I look at. I think seeing through the downs or seeing through anybody's disability for what they can actually do and not prejudging them. I just think that's wonderful. It's kind of what I think I do when I get a new client. I don't prejudge them. I see what they're capable of, not what they can't do, and then try and nurture that. So yeah, that was the one that was.
And the Ability Counts, it's a great example of where a foundation steps in when bigger society can't and it just doesn't have a role. It's providing an exercise and a social outreach for people with Downs to go out and play football. And social care is never going to do that. Your government's never going to do that. It's not their role. But it can help so much with people to actually get out and play football who wouldn't have had a chance otherwise, who wouldn't have a chance playing football against people without Downs or in different aspects of society. And I know the feedback that the foundation get from it, and I've watched it online. It's quite incredible. Just the simple joy that playing football can have in any community, including the Downs community.
Yeah, absolutely. The work they do is phenomenal. So we should all be supporting them. So if you're listening to this or watching this, just click on the link. I'm sure Paul will put a link on it. Click on a link and donate some money.
Peter, that's been great. It's been an honour and a privilege to listen to your Celtic heritage and what you're doing for the foundation. And I genuinely feel humbled by it. It's something that I'm sure everybody who's watching this will admire. You've got a big project ahead of you now. Take care of yourself out there. Come home safely. Whether home is Palmanova now or back at Celtic Park one day to take the round of applause, which I'm sure lies ahead.
Yeah, let's hope so. Will do. Thank you very much, Paul.
Thanks, Peter.
Yeah, bye.
Peter, that was great. Really was spot on. I think you touched on a lot of stuff that we hadn't heard from anyone else, and loved the bit you did at the end for the foundation. It's absolutely going to pull the money in, so I'm delighted at that. Thank you very much.
Not my pleasure. It's just nice to meet you finally. I've been reading your blog for as long as I can remember. Every day. I'll do CQN first, and I have a look at Phil McGilligan to see if he's writing anything sensible, because he likes to go off at a tangent sometimes. And but yeah, love the work that you do as well. So nice. I've always thought about coming over to the golf day, but it always falls just at the wrong time, and I look at it and I think that's just too much for a game of golf and a piss up. it's just too big a journey for me.
I don't know what it's at a different time this year. Wait to see where it is. Move it into September. We've not firmed it. Nah, listen, I'm not finding it. I've a wee feeling we might have kicked it into September this year. Or maybe I'm just making it up. Listen, be great to see you anyway. But
Yeah.
Peter,
I mean, if the date falls good and I can double up with something else,
yep,
then I'll get in touch and see if there's a space for me to play. Obviously, not to win any prizes. When the pro plays along, it doesn't qualify for any prizes.
Listen, there's some sharks coming this golf day. They come out, you know, they might not be pros, but they can play. Yeah. They can hit a golf ball.
Oh no, I'm sure they will. I'm sure they will. But are you a golfer yourself? No. So in the golfing world, the pros play against the pros and the amateurs play against the amateurs. Right. And if a pro rocks up at a golf tournament, some of the boys are like, "Oh, that's no fair. He'll maybe win nearest the pin or win the long." So if the pro wins a prize and nicks it off an amateur, it doesn't go down very well. So you always play with the option of no prize, and then it's fine. So, but I'd love to come along one day because I'm sure I'll know a few of the boys.
You definitely would. Peter, take care, and hopefully we'll be in touch soon before too long.
Great. Thanks a lot, Paul.
Cheers. Thanks. Bye.
Bye now. Bye.